Well, welcome everybody to the show. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Amanda Sobey, and I'd like to introduce you to Amanda. Hello Amanda, how are you?
I'm good, James. Thanks. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you can be here.
I'm very thankful to be here, so thank you for having me.
Perfect. Yeah, we thought we'd have you on the show today to talk a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you've been going through over the last few years. Number of years, I suppose. I don't know much about this yet, so I'm excited to hear more. So why don't we get right to it?
That sounds great.
Okay, perfect. So tell us a bit about yourself, first of all.
So since 2002, I have been battling an incurable illness known as lymphedema. Lymphedema is caused by a blockage in the lymphatic system, which caused permanent swelling in my entire right leg. When I was 21 years old and officially diagnosed, I was mortified to find out that there was nothing that I could do about it. Not only was I permanently disfigured, there is very little information about this disease that could actually help me understand what was going on. Since then, it has been my personal quest to figure out how to overcome this disease, as well as educate and inspire others and give them hope to take back their health. Since then, I have managed to become a certified personal trainer. I am also an all-natural bodybuilder, and I use my personal story to help inspire others to let them know that there is something that they can do, and I am more than happy to share my knowledge with them.
Wow, I'm feeling inspired already, I have to say, just from hearing that. Well, so what is lymphedema exactly?
Lymphedema is actually a blockage in the lymphatic system.
Okay.
The lymphatic system just does not work. This could be caused by two factors. The first factor is known as primary lymphedema. Primary lymphedema is considered to be congenital or genetic and is diagnosed either at birth, puberty, or in your 30s. It's more common in females than it is in males. And secondary lymphedema is caused either by trauma, surgery, radiation, or infection. Still to this date, there is no cure for this condition. I unfortunately received the condition based on secondary lymphedema. I had a traumatic situation, and that is how I got the disease to date.
Wow. So who does it affect usually? Like, I know you mentioned women, but who else does it affect? Does it affect men? Is it always young women, or is it older folks as well? Or
generally it is mostly females. There are men that do have this condition as well too, and that does show up based on being genetic or congenital for the males of the population.
Okay.
Currently to date, based on research, there is over 10 million people in America that have this disease, and there are hundreds of million people worldwide that have lymphedema, and there still is no cure, and there's very much little known about the condition, and that is why I'm here.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yes,
yeah.
Surprisingly, it is a ton of people.
That's incredible. So now I know that part of your story comes with a kind of a good ending, right? Can you tell us, what can someone do to overcome lymphedema?
There are many things that you can do to overcome this condition. Few examples would be doing manual lymph drainage massage, which is a special technique for people who have lymphedema. You can wear compression garments during the daytime and nighttime garments or bandages at nighttime. You can also wear a compression pump to overcome the symptoms of the swelling and the discomfort. You also need to have a very healthy lifestyle based on food choices and diet, and exercise is incredibly important to keep and maintain the swelling of this condition.
Okay, well that's interesting. Now you mentioned a little bit about compression stockings and that type of thing. So are there any other medical equipment or anything like that is specific for people with lymphedema? Also, maybe tell us a little bit about what's entailed with using some of these medical equipment.
Absolutely. So for the compression garments that are basically the most common device used for lymphedema, they come in a series of prescription strength settings. So it's very important to seek out medical advice, as well as to seek out a garment fitter that can size you properly and fit you properly for the garment. They come in different strengths for the compression, and that is very important because if you get a compression garment that is too strong in compression, it can be very damaging and very hurtful. However, if you find the right compression strength, it is very beneficial for anybody who has lymphedema or any sort of vein insufficiencies, the varicose veins, for example, compression garments can be used. So it is important to seek out medical advice as well as a garment fitter to help you acquire the proper medical equipment. Amongst compression garments, you're also able to get help with a compression pump that you can don on and use and wear for a series of minutes in order to help maintain the swelling. There's also bandages that will help you to mitigate and control the swelling, and there's that's about it.
Okay. Sounds like a bit of work though.
It is a ton of work to maintain this condition. What people don't understand about lymphedema is that it affects everybody's daily life. Because of the swelling and the difficulties and the pain that one does get with this condition, there's a series of things that need to be done in order to maintain the swelling of it. It depends on the climate that you live in, weather affects this condition, as well as traveling, if you're flying, can affect this condition, and even certain things like stress can really be damaging towards your overall health. So it is incredibly important to get as much information that you can and to educate yourself and to talk to people, as there are many supports out there nowadays that can help people mitigate and control this disease.
Oh, that's very good. And a personal question, if you don't mind. How has it affected your family life?
It's affected my family life on a series of different levels. Because of this condition, there's not a lot known about it, and it's pretty hard to explain to other people how you feel and what you need, especially to get through just the daily struggles. Sometimes this impacts you mentally based on certain depression and your self-esteem. If you have a family that is trying to be supportive for you, it can affect them as well based on if you don't feel comfortable in a bathing suit but everybody wants to go to the swimming pool. You feel a little bit awkward to be able to share your body in public because you are physically disfigured, as well as just people not understanding what is needed to help you. It provides a very awkward setting sometimes to have the proper supports in place in order to make you feel good about yourself and make you be the best person possible, because it is kind of hard to explain what you need if they can't fully understand the symptoms and the side effects of how this illness does affect you.
And what about working, for example? Has it restricted you in any ways, as far as jobs and, that type of thing? Is it something where you can't sit for long periods of time or maybe if you don't mind telling us a bit about that?
That's a really good question. When my lymphedema was at the worst, I was unable to wear proper footwear, so getting standing jobs and standing up for long periods of time was just not possible. Until I controlled my lymphedema and got to a more manageable size, I was able to then become more active because of the fact that I was able to move a lot easier and I could wear proper shoes and even proper clothes for that matter. So when my lymphedema was at its worst, it was very difficult to find adequate work. And normally it was work that I was at a desk and sitting for, and that's the other issue with lymphedema is that you really shouldn't be sedentary. You do need to stay active. So it's an awkward balance of trying to find work that's making you mobile, but then also allowing you to rest and take it easy as well too.
And are most people pretty sympathetic towards that, as far as maybe your boss or co-workers? Is it something you don't usually talk about with them, or how have you handled that situation?
Personally, for me, I've never really complained about my lymphedema because it was so unknown and there wasn't very much information made to the public and even or to myself when I was first diagnosed back in 2001. I didn't know how to handle it, so I just kept on pursuing and kept on doing what I did. I didn't really communicate to my bosses as to what my needs were, and I didn't really share my story because I didn't want to be ostracized or looked at differently because I had an illness or a chronic disease. So I pretty much kept that to myself, and I didn't really share too much, and I just pretended like I was a normal human being and kept on doing what other people do by going and working your 9-to-5 jobs and taking care of your family and just doing the very best that I could and not really speaking very much about it.
Well, it sounds like you're doing well, regarding what you've had to go through, and that's awesome. And before we go, I was hoping that perhaps you'd have maybe one more thing, something you can share, maybe something you really love to share about lymphedema or your condition or anything specific?
Through my journey with lymphedema and undergoing the series of events that I did, when I was first diagnosed in 2001 with lymphedema and I heard that there was no cure, it really devastated me. I remember that if I was ever able to overcome this condition and reverse the permanent swelling and the disfiguration of my body, as well as overcome some of the mental conditions that come along with not feeling very good about yourself, as well as the chronic pain, I always remembered that I wanted to pay it forward and give back to the communities and be an advocate and a spokesperson. Through my journey, I'm very proud of myself to say that I have been able to maintain and control the swelling of lymphedema to the point that it is a thing of my past. I've also been able to accomplish a huge feat in my own personal journey by becoming an all-natural bodybuilder, which is very exciting. So I do love to share my story. I love to inspire others and let them know that it is possible, and just becoming an advocate and a spokesperson to help educate and promote a positive image for other people to overcome this disease.
Well, that's awesome. A bodybuilder, that's great. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you or wants to know more about what you're doing, how would they get a hold of you?
Thank you for asking. If anybody is wanting to know more about my story, you can please go on Facebook under Amanda Sobey, as you will find my Facebook page that advertises and shares all of my tips and advice with overcoming lymphedema. I'm also on Instagram at am.sobey, and that's Sobey like the grocery store at SOBEY, as well as I do have a website for www.amandasobey.com for anybody else wanting to get more information and to contact me personally.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was very nice to meet you.
Thank you so very much.